Well, Donna White is bringing the struggles of child soldiers to young people in North America. White is in Winnipeg launching her first book. It's called Bullets, Blood, and Stones, The Journey of a Child Soldier. And as I understand, it's the first in a trilogy aimed at the young adult reader. And it's based on conversations that White had with former child soldiers while she was volunteering with World Vision in Uganda. We got Donna White in the studio right now. Welcome to the show.
Oh, good morning or good afternoon.
So what is the actual story told in Bullets, Blood, and Stones, The Journey of a Child Soldier?
Well, I tell people it's a magical realism story. So I have one part magic in it and 99 parts realism, okay? So the magic takes place in the use of these 5 magic stones that are found clasped in the hands of a bony skeleton's hands. Mm-hmm. And that is the vehicle that we use to transport these 2 young teenage boys into Uganda. And that's where the reality takes over. And we have the situation with Joseph Kony and the Lord's Resistance Army and the abduction of thousands and thousands of children and forcing them to be child soldiers.
Why was it important for you to have that magical element in there and transport these 2 young people to Uganda to be part of this story?
Well, I guess the whole idea came to me one day when I was returning from Bangladesh, and the images of that impoverished country were still fresh in my mind. Seeing children in dumpsters, gathering plastic, just barely making ends meet. And when I came to Canada, I had to go to the grocery store. I had to fill my fridge. And while I was there waiting in line at the till, there was a few people ahead of me and another lady behind me. And she started complaining about this lineup. And I was getting a little perturbed that she was angry about this. And I said to her, this really isn't a long lineup. You should see food lineups. And, and I mentioned a few other countries. Mm-hmm. And she got angry at me for saying this to her. And I knew that our conversation couldn't go any further. So I developed a coping mechanism right there and then. And I imagined that I had a remote control in my pocket. And I reached into my pocket and I pressed the send button. And I sent her away to Sudan in a long food lineup where I could picture the sweat dripping off her face and her clutching at her belly and just agonizing as she's looking ahead to see this long lineup of people just waiting for this meager handful of rice to be handed to them. And that's when I realized that we are all in need of a send button. We all need to be sent to different places so that we can learn lessons. So as a teacher, I see a lot of students that are in need of being sent to places. So the infatuation that we have with violence, whether it's video games or what we watch on TV, I wanted to send children into those situations so they could get a taste of what violence was really like, and then they could change their attitudes towards it. Wow. And then sometimes as people, we think that we know it all, and we don't. We definitely don't. So another child that I send into the situation is a child who thinks he knows everything. And so that's why I needed to do that.
I love how your coping mechanism became the starting premise for a story like this. This is great.
And I still use it.
Wonderful. Now let's get to the real part of this. I mean, you did some pretty deep research for parts of this book. Can you tell me about some of the people that you met and spoke with in Uganda?
Yes, I had the honor of meeting one of Joseph Kony's wives. He has about 100 wives. And when I interviewed her and I asked the simple question, now, who was your husband? Because many of these girls were abducted and forced into being child soldiers, but also with the intention that they were going to become wives of these commanders. And when she told me Joseph Kony was, I had to be quiet. I had to just write it down and listen to her story. And as one of his wives, she was abused regularly. She was used as an example for all of the other women. This is what happens if you don't listen, if you look the wrong way. She said he was a very horrid man. I learned a lot about him. And another person I met was one of Joseph Kony's bodyguards. He always had 2 girls with him and 2 boys. And they're always recognized as the most ruthless of killers. And after interviewing her, we hugged. It was so beautiful to see that this woman who had been forced to kill so many people now used her hands to make beautiful jewelry. So to see that change, and when she gave me a necklace, and I cherish it. And when I show it to people, they just marvel at the idea that the hands that were used to kill people were now creating beads.
Now, I know that there's a line in this book that deals with essentially the first kill that any child soldier makes, about seeing the blood and starting with hating themselves. Was this how did this come out in conversation? Where did you get that from? Was that part of the interviews that you did?
Yes. Because Coney's very effective. When he would abduct children, many times he would force them to kill one of their own parents. And many times they're forced to go back to their own villages and abduct more children and kill more people and gather more supplies. And this is effective because when you are a child soldier put into those situations, even though you can escape, you don't want to, because where will you go? Right. Who will take you back? And because of that, you know that you've now taken a route that is very difficult to change. So you do hate yourself.
Where's the hope in this book?
Oh, it's a long, long road. But I want people to know that there is hope. Definitely. The recovery center that I visited had 15,000 children go through its compound. And each of those children went through counseling, medical attention, provided with a vocational trade. All of these women and men that I met, even though they were racked with the Ajiji, the flashbacks, the postpartum stress disorder, every day they looked at it as a new day. Every day they went forward and they said to themselves, I'm alive for a reason. Each day is a gift to me. So that's where the hope is.
What did that do for you to get to that part, to see that actually in Uganda?
I think out of all the countries I've ever gone to, this is a country where the people show hope the most. And for me, it was something where, of course, if I look at things that come along my way, I'm going to face them full on. I'm going to know that I can do this because they did it. Look what they were up against. Yeah. So, of course, you leave as a different person, definitely.
Now, was I right? Is this the first in a trilogy?
Yes.
Okay. What's the next one going to be about?
The next one focuses on the Ajiji, the flashbacks. And it's based on the idea that in Uganda, you have 2 shadows. You have one shadow that is behind you, your past, and then there is a shadow that is in front of you, your future, and how you need to leave that shadow that's behind you and go on into the future.
All right. Before I let you go here, you are launching this at McNally Robinson today, right?
Yes,
and what time is that all getting started?
That's at 7 o'clock.
At 7 o'clock tonight.
And there'll be a presentation followed by a book signing.
Beautiful. Thanks so much for dropping by today, Donna.
Thank you so much.
Donna White is the author of Bullets, Blood, and Stones, The Journey of a Child Soldier. And as you heard right there, you can head down to McNally Robinson and meet Donna and get the book. I bet you can get it signed, too. Everything gets started at 7 o'clock.